Hey, welcome to another episode of Panakal Podcast for Geeks, a show about good friends hanging out, talking about things we all love. Right?
Nailed
I
it.
got that right? Okay. You
you,
guys,
you did it.
I always second guess myself. My co-host Andrew Sides, and our guest
Right?
today is Ryan Pancoast. Which I've been trying to get you for a minute, and I think we're just both so busy. You're really busy. I think
Oh
most
yeah.
of the magic artists I
Yeah,
get on here are
it it
super busy.
I appreciate you keep asking me because that's what it takes.
I mean, I
It's
feel
like,
like some artists, if they don't want to do it, they'll just like I've asked artists where they're like, they flat out are like, my schedule is so busy, I can't do this. And I'm just like, that's fair.
yeah,
Like,
I mean, yeah, that is fair. I often feel like I'm hanging on by my fingernails,
same.
almost all the time. But like, I'm not, I do like talking about my work. So I'm always available for an interview, but it's just a matter of nailing me down.
Sure. I
Mhm.
mean, yeah, and I figure tend to do the night shows are easier for us because I think we're all parents, so it's easier when the kids are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My kids are still awake, by the way. They should be asleep. So,
I think mine is asleep. I'm not hearing her in the next room, so I think
yeah.
she's passed out. We'll see.
Yeah, it's always
But
a little bit of a nervous time right after they fall asleep.
yeah,
Like,
because so
are they gonna stay that way?
I mean, we all work at night, I assume, right? Like myself, I have to
I,
work
I I
also.
do a pretty good streak of working during the day, but yeah, tonight especially, I'm gonna be working after this. So
Sure.
How
Um,
long do you find you can kind of work in a painting session? Like I can kind of go throughout the day, but I take frequent like stops and I'll walk away for like 5 minutes or something, then walk back to it and like work a little bit more and something. But I know
I'm
some people that are like, "Oh, I've got like 3 hours of painting in me for a day, and that's it." And it's like, what?
Yeah, no, I have pretty good resilience if it was left to my own devices and I was just working without any outside distraction or any other responsibilities. I could easily do 8 hours. Yeah, 9 to 5 pretty easily, 9 to 6 probably. That's what I was doing before I had a family, but
Yeah.
and I'm 42, no, 41 now, but I think my stamina is still up there.
Mhm.
So we'll see when the kids graduate from high school or get into high school. Maybe I'll find out just how much stamina I have left.
I mean, I find it
Ah,
catches up
yeah.
to me eventually at night. I used to like Andrew knows. We used to stay. I used to be up till like 1 or 2 in the morning working.
Mhm.
Now it's like I have a hard like at 11. Let's try to get to bed. Usually it's midnight. But that gives me
Yeah,
about six to
midnight is
seven
kind of my
hours.
limit, my self-imposed limit,
Yeah,
just because day starts at 6:30 and you don't want to be a zombie for the entire day. So
Yeah. That's generally when if I don't have a pressing deadline, that's usually when I try and cap it. But if I have like advertising freelance, then usually that's like, yeah, I got to work until like 2
yeah,
a.m.
I don't miss
Because
those days at all. So
uh, yeah. It's very stressful and very, very short term kind of deadline thing because they'll call you on like Tuesday and be it's like, hey, we need it by Thursday. And it's like, cool.
yeah,
I really got a motor on this then.
I don't envy that kind of schedule because I'm not even sure I could do that.
is your
Thankfully, at least for that work, it's the equivalent of like doing like black and white comps. Like it's not like doing like a full on finished painting or anything. So it's much easier, at least for me to like work through that. But the flip side of that though is like they're asking like 8 or 10 different concepts. And
Yeah,
so then when you do the math, it's kind of like, okay, like I have 2 hours max to spend on each concept, and then I need to move on to the next
right.
one if I want to keep pace and not like wear myself super thin.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, for me, it seems more like because of the way the Magic the Gathering deadlines are structured, I'm kind of just trying to fit in what I can when I can. So, if we're watching TV at night, me and my wife, and it's a sketch time, I can do sketches then. Or if the kids are at piano lessons, I can sketch in the lobby. So like, and I always try to plan that out where like this is my sketch phase. Like there's a 2 week period where I'm basically just doing sketches and I can kind of like work it into the schedule and also do all the things that I need to do as a dad, and as a
Yeah.
husband. And then when it gets down to the 2 weeks or so when you're doing the actual painting, I kind of have to forgo my other responsibilities in favor of the
Yeah,
Right.
it's
art.
like
So
yeah,
Is
everything kind
magic
of laser focuses down into that.
is
yeah.
magic your primary? I was gonna ask you that if that's your primary job right now.
Yeah, I mean, I keep telling people that don't know what I do that I'm technically freelance, but at this point, it's like a full-time freelance.
Sure.
Fortunately,
Yeah.
and yeah, Magic is basically my only client. Um,
It's nice that they
I
keep calling you back.
yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna turn them down, and
Yeah.
I feel very fortunate that I'm in that position. I know a lot of people want to be there. Yeah,
It's
and I feel very lucky to be in that position.
yeah. It's very similar to like how I don't think they do it as much anymore, but certain comic book artists would sign on for like a long-term contract with like say Marvel or like DC, and it's like, oh yeah, like I have freelance, but it's only for Marvel or it's only for DC Comics kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm gonna be here until the game folds, I guess, or they stop calling me, whichever
I
comes
mean, I'd be
first.
shocked if either of
Yeah.
those two things happen because
Yeah, really. Like,
like Watsy will just do the weirdest things and the game still just keeps kicking. And
Just keeps
then
going. Yeah.
calling you, I mean, I think you and there's a few like we had Chris Ron on and Tyler Jacobson. I think you guys are like in your own level of like your own echelon of like you're not gonna not call you. Your work's solid.
Well,
yeah,
thank you for putting me in that company. I don't
You're
I
up
don't
there, man.
often feel it, and then when I get like a commission that's kind of a head scratcher, like
Sure.
why did I get this job? I kind of self-doubt, like did I not do a good enough job on the previous one? But yeah, thanks for putting me in that company.
I might just be like
oh no,
something
totally
that
earned.
you worked on. I was gonna ask you, are you allowed to talk about the Marvel stuff at all?
Yeah, I'm allowed to talk
Okay,
about it. I will not talk about the things I can't talk about, but yeah, I can talk about
correct.
it.
I mean, you did on the secret lair stuff. You did the Wolverine, if I remember correct.
I did the Captain America.
Oh, Captain America. That's what
Um,
it is.
yeah, yeah. Victor did an awesome job on Wolverine.
They're all great
Um,
cards, man. I could not get into the secret lair. The site was
yeah,
bombarded, obviously, right?
yeah. I
And
mean, fortunately, I get a promo copy, I guess. But
frame that shit up and hang it. So
yeah, that's right.
it's worth
No, I mean,
like worth a lot. I mean, those are it's Marvel, obviously. So is
yeah,
your
yeah.
painting still on auction right now?
The auction ended Sunday night, so it's Tuesday now. So yeah, so now we're just organizing payment with the winner of the
Yeah,
auction, and I'll send it out in January because he's doing a short payment plan.
sure.
Um, so understandable,
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean the Marvel job is I will happily talk about. It was kind of like so when jobs come in, it's always kind of like a little bit of a roll of the dice. You're not entirely sure what you're going to get.
right.
But sometimes you feel like you've just won the lottery, and this is one of those cases
Yeah,
where the art director Cassie Murphy sent an email like prefacing it like, "Are you interested in this project?" And I like immediately said yes, like
yeah.
please.
Hmm.
Please don't drop me. I wrote her back like almost the minute she sent it, because it was Marvel, and they made it clear that they're asking me to work on the project as a traditional artist. So with the indication that yes, you can sell the work
That's
and that we
cool.
are allowing originals, and this is kind of like
Yeah.
a new thing.
Yeah,
Um,
because wasn't most of the Universe Beyond stuff you were not allowed either? Like it had to be digital and you couldn't sell the artwork, is that correct?
Right.
That's correct. Yeah, I think I'm not sure entirely when or why that policy was in place. I think it was the result of the Godzilla set, one of the first Universes Beyond sets where it wasn't really clear, and people ended up selling the artwork, and Toho got upset that
Yeah, I heard
artists were
about that.
selling the artwork.
That tracks. I
So
thought it was the Tolkien estate that did it, but Toho also tracks for that.
yeah, because I think the Tolkien estate allows like originals in other contexts.
Right.
So I think it was Toho, and then that kind of trickled down to the other UB stuff, which is unfortunate, really. But it is what it is. Like Wizards does pay. Are we allowed to talk numbers in here?
You can talk numbers, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we can.
they pay 3K for most Universes Beyond jobs,
Yeah.
to make up for the loss on the back end of print sales, AP sales. So it's almost
That
it's.
number just feels too low to me.
I mean,
Not
it
having more,
is like
it's good pay though. I'm not saying
I,
it's bad. It just feels like if they're
yeah,
gonna be like, you can't sell prints and you can't have a secondary market, we're not sending you any artist proofs. Like, give me a little bit
yeah.
more, man.
I mean,
You know?
it's tough to say because it's the industry
Oh
as
yeah,
a
I get it.
whole. Like
And
it's
I'm
not
saying this
just
as
Wizards
someone who actually
paying
just
like.
did Magic cards too. So please don't not give me more cards.
Yeah, yeah, it's
I'll take them
industry
all
wide.
still. Yeah, yeah, it's industry
Right,
wide. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
I get it. And
Um,
it's just like I do feel like they are kind of trying to, like with Marvel stuff. Because I know a lot of artists who are on the first wave were like not allowed to make um uh they're like it can't be traditional, and now they're you guys obviously all did traditional work, so it's kind of nice to
yeah, I
see
mean,
that.
this was the first wave of Marvel stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
And with the first wave, I think they are pretty happy being able to offer that to us.
yeah,
I'm not going to say that it was done out of the kindness of their heart. I think it was an easier agreement to make with Marvel because of Marvel's previous contracts with their artists, I think.
yeah.
Um, the other thing is that artists like me and Victor and Chris were kind of gently asking people at Wizards, like, can we eventually work this into the contract where we can have the originals? We don't need prints. We don't
Right.
need APs. We just want the original. That was just, that's what
Because that'll
traditional
sell
artists
for a
want.
lot.
Yeah, it's just the original.
Case in point, if anyone wants to look up your auction later.
Yeah. I mean, we get APs and prints for um normal Magic,
Right.
and that's pretty generous. Like there's not a lot of clients that will allow you to make prints of
Yeah.
work that you've done. So, you know, so between I'm not sure how much that helped, but between like the gentle reminding that like we would really like to sell originals and the already existing Marvel contracts, I think it was kind of like a slam dunk for them because, it's great for us, but I think it also adds an air of, um, well, because like largely Magic the Gathering art direction is kind of geared toward a more traditional look, even if it's digital.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And doing this allows them to go like full traditional, where it's like the traditional artists are putting their everything behind their jobs, and I think Wizards gets the benefit of that.
Yeah.
I don't have I'm definitely trying some traditional stuff, but that's just not in my wheelhouse. So
Yeah, I mean, I will say that I did my first digital pieces for Wizards this year.
No
Um,
way.
yeah, I can't
can't
obviously say
talk
for
about
what,
Yeah, right.
it. Yeah, exactly.
but like it was contractually, so you can kind of see where it's going, but I was contractually obligated to work digitally,
Yeah.
and that's just not my wheelhouse either. Like I was working on just my iPad using Procreate,
Yeah.
and I
Oh,
just
good on you.
I
That's
can't
tough.
see it. Like
Right.
I can't step back and see it as a piece.
Right.
Right.
I was relying on the art director pretty heavily to say like, is this finished
Yes.
enough?
Yeah.
Like
That's
I
I'm
literally
used to
couldn't tell.
with the pieces I did. I had the same problem. I was messaging my art director, be like, I mean, it looks like you'll know it's my work because it looks like my work, but I was like, is this magic ready? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And my AD was really chill, so they were like, make this change, done. And then before I
Yeah.
even finished my first card, I got more cards. I only took one more because I didn't want to screw up my first time doing this. I still wish I had taken more cards, but too little, too late. It's done. But yeah, the second one came a lot easier. Actually, the second one was tougher because they send you the what do you call it? Just the blurb, right? And saying,
Right.
here's what you
Yeah.
gotta do. And I was reading that thing like, this makes no sense. Like, make it make sense. And you know how it is when you message your art director and you're like waiting, and you're like, please just say anything back to me. And
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
finally got that email saying here, and then watching that deadline just get closer. And you're like, is this what you guys have to all go through every time? like someone like yourself's
Yeah.
going through that like every 6 weeks, I think. And I'm like, oh my
Well,
god.
here's the little tricks that I've developed over the course of 15 years. Is one of them is I try really hard to submit only one concept
Yeah,
as a
okay,
sketch,
that's smart.
because usually I can tell which is the best, and if I don't know which is the best, I can tell which is my favorite.
Yeah.
The only time I do that is when I legitimately have two ideas that I would really enjoy painting.
Mm.
Um, and I submitted two options this time, and no fault to the ADs. I know how things are, but like the feedback came so late that I am now like it's crunch time, like it's past deadline time, and
Yeah.
I am just like burning rubber to try to finish these things. And it would have helped if I had only submitted one, then I can at least get started. And if any corrections come back, I'll at least be a little bit ahead, you
Right.
know. Um, so nowadays I'm just submitting like one one concept, one sketch, and two at the most.
I
If
think
like
I did something similar to that, but I made a bunch of thumbs, and I was like, I like this one, and then I made
right,
3 variations of that one. So in my head, I was like, they could pick any of these, and I'll still be like, I like what I'm doing.
yeah,
And what they ended up doing was is taking a little bit from each one, and I
mm,
kind of Voltroned it into
Mm.
one big piece, which is cool because I was like, oh, I didn't think that was going to happen.
yeah,
And then there were, luckily, this is where I'm glad I'm digital, because there's parts of this piece I did where about 2 weeks before it was due, they took stuff out, and I was just
mm,
like, no, I spent like a week and a half drawing that, and I'm super proud of it. And they were like, yeah, the mechanics for this thing has changed, so this thing has to come out. And I was just like,
Wow.
and they were like, it's just on its own layer, right? And I'm like, yeah, I'll turn it off. But like, I was like, well, this sucks.
yeah.
But
I've
it
kind of
happens though.
avoided. Yeah, it happens, but I've been lucky enough to largely avoid changes like that. I don't know how. Maybe they know that Ryan can't really do much once it's finished. I don't know.
I mean,
Um,
traditionally, they probably like, that's gonna be hard to change.
yeah, I mean, I don't know what their thought process is.
Yeah.
I have had to change things in the past though. The most recent set, not the most recent, but one of the recent sets, Bloomborough.
Yeah.
Um, I had a card called Whiskervale Recruiter, and it was a mouse leading an army.
Yep.
And I had done the painting, and this mouse was all decked out in armor and stuff. And Zach Stella came back and said, actually, this card is now a bard in addition
Yeah.
to a
Oh.
knight or whatever it was. And so we need to add an instrument to this. Uh, yeah, he was like, he said, like, I wouldn't change it. Like, normally I wouldn't change it, except that the showcase art, the alternative art,
Right.
also has a musical instrument. So fortunately, like I had left, I don't know, miraculously, like an empty space in the composition where I could like string a guitar on the mouse's back, and it like fit exactly
Yeah.
perfectly. And I literally had like my palette was still fresh in my mind, so I just mixed up the paint and just did that. Um, the other one that came in this year was I did like a huge scarecrow type thing called Renmaw for the most recent set, and that one was initially a horizontal painting,
Yeah.
but then at the very end they switched it to a vertical painting. So I had to I was debating like, do I just like create another canvas and paste these two together? But in that case, I ended up doing the bottom digitally because it was just like it was too much work
Right.
for the revision fee, and I just needed it to be done.
Well, I'll tell you, the Bloomberg
Oh.
piece is brilliant. Like, like my when you posted that for the first time, my eyes went right to that bard. I was like, that guy's the main character right there. So
Yeah, yeah,
good change for
yeah. I
you,
mean,
I
that set was great.
think.
I love that set.
Dude, I went back and forth because I have a friend who owns a hobby shop. So whenever there's new commander sets coming out, I can message him and be like, "Hey, can you get me all 4 of those decks?" Cool, done. But with Bloomborough, I was like, I don't know if I want to play a bunch of forest animals. But then the
Yeah,
artwork started coming out, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is all like amazing!" So then I
yeah,
immediately was like, "Please get me all 4." And the squirrel deck obviously sold out immediately. I have one, but man, now it's like there's always one that's costs so much because it just sells out, right? Squirrels.
yeah. I mean, it's yeah. At the like at the forefront, like you hear like Animal World, and maybe it doesn't sound too cool, but like um, I don't know. The sets that Zach Stella leads as AD are
Yep.
just like so smart and so well done. Like
Yep.
I will drop things to go on a set that he leads, just because you get the style guide and it's like
Yep.
this is great. This
He's
is thought through, and this is exactly what Magic looks like. And I get it, and I can do this stuff. I just wish they stayed longer on planes because I feel like I was just
yes.
getting into the Bloomborough vibe, and then they went off
Dustmore.
to
Yeah.
It does
yeah,
seem like it goes very quickly.
Everyone's like, you had
very
90 days. I'm like, dude, they should stay there for like 6 or 7 months. Like,
yeah.
ease us into the next. And some part of me, I feel like that's just whatever Hasbro, right? They're like, get the next thing out, and you're like, bro. Um.
So
By the way,
it's every
Zach is
90
my
days. So I
AD
guess
too.
it's
For
the.
sorry,
Is it
yeah.
tied to like financial quarters then for each release? If it's like like roughly 90 days for
No, because
playing.
like some sets are a little later. I think they just have a plan to put stuff out fast as possible.
Yeah, I think Hasbro is probably pushing Wizards to produce more, since their main or one of their main breadwinners.
It is the main
It is
breadwinner
the
for
one,
Hasbro,
yeah.
unfortunately.
So like I don't envy Wizards for having to do all that because I'm sure the ADs would rather like take their time and like really
Yeah.
Right.
work on a set. And um you know in the olden days when I first started, and they used to do like one plane every year almost, like they had like 3 sets come out and they're all the same plane. By the end of that, I was getting pretty tired of that
Sure.
plane. But there was like an in between time where they spent 2 waves or 2 sets on a plane, and that was just perfect. You tried it once, you perfected it, and then you can move on.
Now, when it was like, because like I'm really not familiar with Magic itself, like Alan knows this and stuff. But like when it used to be like the fewer releases throughout the year, were there more cards within each release, or was it about the same as it is now? It's just they just release more within a shorter time.
Yeah, I believe every set has the same number of cards. It's just they're releasing more sets.
They're
Each
Okay.
set, I
they're
think, will have
pushing.
whatever it is, 256 cards or something. There's just more of it. And so the way that works for an artist is, we all used to be like working on the same set, so we could send emails back and forth and say like, how's this working? How's this working? But now we're all like working on different products,
Right.
and I could be working on something and Victor might be working on a UB something, and there's no cohesion, and we're never entirely sure what each other is working on, even on Discord. Like, so
Yeah.
it just feels more disparate and spread out. And
I mean, everything's got the. I love the when people are talking with their code names, and you're like, I have no idea what this guy's talking about. But
yeah, I
like,
have
I
no
know,
idea
I
what
know,
code
I
names
know
are.
my code names, right? Well, if we have friends who are like uber, like they work for Magic and they're so into Magic, they know. Like you can ask them like, whatever. You can be like, "What's iced tea?" And they'll be like, "Iced tea is this," And
Right, yeah, I don't know the code names.
iced tea is not a code name in case anyone's gonna go panic search Reddit for that. I'm not gonna
Right,
actually say a code name on here, but like
yeah.
I have like now I have a base knowledge of some of them just from listening to these other artists talk. But
Yeah.
initially, I was like, I know what mine is called. And that's it, right?
Right.
If somebody had mentioned it, I'd be like, hey, I'm on the same one with you, like. But if you were
Yeah.
to say like I'm on whatever Casey Jones, I'd be like, I don't know what that is. But I was gonna say is like I worked with Zach on my stuff, and he was my first AD, so I'm supposed to be working with him on more stuff. It's the same. Everyone tells me this is the game, right? You just wait, and like
Yeah,
I'm
it
just like,
wasn't
yeah,
it wasn't always that way. Usually,
sure,
like I guess I'll say it again, like back in the olden days in 2008 or 2009, like
right,
you got in with Jeremy Jarvis and basically he just kind of kept you around and he was
yeah,
only working on, one set at a time. So it's like, or I wouldn't say only one set at a time, but he had far fewer sets to rely on. He was the only
mhm,
AD and he just kind of
right,
kept throwing stuff at you. Um, until you start doing bad work and then he gives you a little vacation, which is what he did for me about like a
mm.
year and a half into my magic career.
Were you
Oh
drawing? Were
no.
you making planes? What's the bad
No,
work you did?
yeah, no, I was it was it was a set called Mirrodin Besieged,
Mm-hmm.
and there was one of the ones where we stayed on it for the entire year, and by the second set, I, well, I was a young adult. I was coaching track at my high school right after college and also trying to be a magic illustrator. And I was just probably not spending the time that I should have on my magic work just because of all
You
the,
really like
I had a
running,
second,
huh?
Yeah, other
I
commitments
had
and
a sec,
stuff.
I had a second job. And,
Mm.
um, yeah, so the third set in that block, I didn't get a call. And, I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
So, but the lessons learned from that, and artists who are working on Magic now can learn from this, is just like I wrote him an email. I said, um, I noticed that I didn't get any work. If it's a matter of the quality of my work, I understand it, but I'm ready to come back and ready to give it 100% whenever you feel like
Mm-hmm.
it can come back. And he did have me back for the Innistrad set, fortunately. Um, so,
That's a good
and that's the
set.
same case now. Artists are always like, why didn't I get X job for Y set? And I think the answer largely is that there's so many artists and so
Yes.
many ADs that it is so easy to fall between the cracks, and just
Yep.
not be there.
Yep.
So constantly trying to keep up with who's working on what as best you can, and sending emails generally back and forth saying like I'm here, this is what I work at, and
Right.
if you have anything, I'd be happy to do
See,
it. So
see how
Sorry.
Andrew just
It,
moved.
it's I
You're
think I just
screwing up the video, Andrew.
I think I just hit like a USB cable or something.
No, but what you're saying, Ryan, is exactly what So in my eyes, I was always like, how annoying am I supposed to be about emailing? But
yeah,
I've talked to enough ads at this point who work at Watts who are like, you emailing me is what reminds me you exist.
yeah,
Even at LuxCon, 2 weeks ago when I was there, I ran into his art director and he was like, you know what I like about you? And I was like, what? And he goes, you have ever. So I go to smart school and I study under Scott Fisher. Every time I finish new work in that class, I send it to all the art directors I think I could work with, including like Tom Jencott and all these people. And usually I get a
smart.
response back, right? Sometimes you don't, which is fine. They're busy. But this specific art director was like, you message me all the time and you remind me that you exist, and I like that. I wanted to give some more. Like, use another artist as an example, who I'm not going to name, but a big artist. He said I wanted so and so on this project, and he would have had the job, but he never emailed me, and then I forgot he existed. And
Yeah,
then by the time I remembered he existed, I already given the work away, which sucks for him and is good for the other artists. So he's like, don't let that happen to you. And he was like, I want you to email me next Tuesday by 10 o'clock. And I was like, cool. And I set an alarm for 9:30, because I was like, that was a very specific time to give me. So I'm gonna
yeah.
try not to screw that up. And that's another art director I'm probably gonna be working with, hopefully in the next like month or two. And I don't know. I'm not trying to like I like the work, but it's not, when Zach first messaged me asking me about working, I said, I'm not I'm not the artist who wants like I don't want to. I'm like I'm not gonna die if I don't get Magic work. I like
Yeah.
the game. I love the artwork. I've obviously I've wanted to work for Magic since I was like in high school. Like I started playing since I was 14, and so if there's work, cool, I'll do it. But I also have my own IP, which most people who know me know I have my own IP, and that's basically my first love. So not again, not saying I want Magic work. I want it, but I'm not gonna take like some of these artists take like 5 cards, 6 cards.
Right.
I'm gonna take like 2 because that
Yeah.
still lets me work on my own stuff,
Yeah.
stress free to a degree. There's stress, but if I took 6 cards with like a what 7 week deadline, I feel like I'd spiral out.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many do you take on at once, Ryan, usually?
One or two,
Yeah.
Okay.
uh,
Yeah,
max. But
conservative. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, well, I mean, it's conservative, but it's realistic for a traditional artist because
Mm,
I can easily survive off that because of the original art sales.
yeah.
Uh, so it's like a financial decision, but also like that's the absolute max I can take anyways, given the deadlines.
Does
Just it
does
is
your
what it
wife
is.
work too, or are you the primary in your?
Well, yeah, my wife is an emergency veterinarian.
Okay.
Uh,
Oh,
so
cool.
yeah, so she was the main breadwinner for the first 10 years of our
Yeah, yeah,
relationship, um, until the art market really exploded in like 2018, 2019, there somewhere around there, probably a little bit before then.
sure.
Um, but that was when I started getting good cards too. So things kind of turned around in my late 30s, and I've been the main breadwinner for a couple of years now, to the point where now my wife works 2 days a week instead of full time,
Yeah.
and we're way happier in that
Nice.
situation
Yeah. That's great.
because
I
her
mean, my
job
my
is.
wife is waiting for that moment already. So
Yeah, no, it's nice, especially since like my job is, it's stressful, but it's only deadlines. It's not like animals aren't going to die.
right.
So it's far
Sure.
less stressful than her job. And so like if I can offer that, if she can only has to do the mental
Right.
trauma 2 days rather than five
Yeah.
days, I'm really happy with that situation.
I mean, that's what I'm trying to. So my wife's a clinical health psychologist,
Yeah.
and she works 5 days a week. But every time we talk business, she's like, "I'm waiting for your business to," and you could see it slowly building up. Um, but it is a small business and it takes time. But someday,
Yeah.
hopefully, it'll pick up and where she can work less because she would rather stay home with the kids. I watch the kids
Right.
during the day. Um, sh I was like, I'd easily flip it and let you have the kids because I want to like paint. I want to work.
Yeah.
I like my brain is consistently like I'm working on like an RPG right now for my world, and like my brain wants to get to that. I love my kids. Don't get me wrong, but like what it's like as an artist. You're like, I need to get back to painting. You know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it's a combination of like yeah, it's a passion, but like I feel like I've worked for it, but also like I consider myself extremely, extremely privileged and lucky because people aren't buying my work necessarily because it's me. They're largely buying my work because I work for Magic, and they aren't lining up at events because it's me. It's because I work for Magic. So like everything kind of like filters down from that.
sure.
And so I feel like I love to give advice to younger artists or artists who want to break into Magic, but like part of it is just that I've been really, really lucky.
Have you ever
Um,
considered like doing a one-off like your own piece, not magic related, just to test the theory?
yeah, I mean, I do. I've done a not really recently just because of
Sure.
timing, but I do have my own um, I guess it's IP. I don't know, my own aesthetic called Frontier Fantasy, where I'm combining American history and fantasy art. And I I like the pieces that I do for that, and I feel like it scratches some sort of creative itch that I have. But they're clearly not as monetarily successful
To the
as my
magic. I get
magic
it.
uses.
Yeah, yeah.
Was
Um,
was the work that you did for the character in context gallery show, was that like part of the Frontier Fantasy stuff? Because I saw it and I was like, I think this is part of that, but I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, so it's part of it. Like, it's not. There's no hard and fast rules. I
Mm.
basically paint what I want to paint, and largely that has to do with, combining Western art and fantasy art in some way. And usually it's more Western and less fantasy. My idea of a fantasy universe has very low level magic and low level fantasy, so things are more. Visually fantastical than like somebody casting a magic spell. So in
Right.
the character and context show in Colorado, I did a painting of a girl carrying a lantern and she's riding an elk, which, that's not historically accurate. She's leading a pack of wolves. They're realistic wolves, but she's still leading them somehow. And then there's like a comet in the background that has entered Earth's atmosphere and is breaking apart, and the comet's color is similar to the color of the lantern that she's carrying. So there's all these like elements that aren't historically accurate and also can be considered fantasy because that's not what happens in nature. And that's really where my fantasy is at. Like there are some fantasy creatures in my universe, but they're all kind of based on real world animals.
Yeah.
Um, and it's not everybody's bag. It's not, I didn't sell the painting, which is no big deal. I priced it pretty high because I liked it.
Sure.
But I get it. Like not everybody's going to be into it, and the people that are not necessarily going to spend the amount of money that it's going to take for me to live off of. At least not yet.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I do like, because I feel like I'm a fantasy artist, yes, and I love fantasy, but like I would almost be equally as happy being a portrait artist, like getting to paint
Yeah.
getting to paint like some rich guy's portrait where
Right.
all you have to do is look at something and translate it onto a canvas. Like just being able to paint from a photograph or paint from life is so relaxing to me. Like I feel like I could just do that all day. The hard part is the fantasy part, the part that you have to make up and still look realistic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so so yes, I'm a fantasy artist, but like I have other skills and other passions that eventually I'd like to utilize.
You have other do you play Magic? Actually, that's a good question.
I know how to play,
Yeah.
but I only learned, I don't know, 7 years after I started illustrating for the game. Like I understood generally how
Yeah.
the game went, but I didn't really know how to play. But now I know how to play. I'm not any good at it, but
Yeah.
I really enjoy it, and I play Arena while I'm drinking my coffee in the morning, and I'm trying to teach my nephews how to play. Um, my
It's
son
not.
doesn't have any interest at all, so um, I just want somebody to play with.
Yeah, I
Um,
get it. Yes, Arena works just fine for that. I
yeah,
mean, I
yeah,
just started playing Commander like maybe a year or two ago. Like I started out when I was playing. It was like I don't know what they call it, 40 card, 60 card decks or whatever.
yeah.
There's no
Mhm.
like rule. There's like you got four of each kind in there. That's all I remember from high school and stuff. But then I remember when what do they call it back in the day, EDH or whatever. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know what this is. This seems too difficult to play. And then the people that play that are like they're like next level, man. And you're like, well,
Yeah.
you are sucking the fun out of this. But once you like figure it out and you start making your own commander decks, and you're like, I've got some tricks up my sleeve too. Then it becomes fun,
Yeah.
right? It depends on what you're playing.
Yeah.
Like, play some with a mill deck,
I mean,
hate
I think a lot of players
it.
reach that point where they kind of like, I reached it too, where I was like, oh, I kind of get the appeal now. Like, all right, I'm getting
Yeah,
this.
You had the flip switch on you where
you got to
you
do. You got
understood it.
well, as for
Right.
starters, like when people buy these, the one thing I learned early was when you buy these pre-con commander decks, don't play them. You can play them out of the box just to be like that's what it's supposed to do. Then go and fuck it up, jack it up, do something to it,
Yeah.
like change it. Like my Dino deck, I've literally got I can't afford the original Grimlock card because it's $250. But there's a Grimlock proxy in there, and he'll come into play at some point, and it's just a fun transformer that shows up in the middle of the game. So if you like have
Yeah.
some fun with it, it's like any game, right? If you just don't take it too seriously, and you'll be.
Yeah.
That being said, do you have any other like hobbies that you enjoy other than like I build Gundams? I don't know.
Yeah. I'm not, this is gonna be really weird, but I don't have a lot of hobbies actually. And
That's
I'm
fair.
not into like so like and I'm not into like any of like fandoms generally. Like for some reason I'm always geared toward the art. So like
Sure.
Magic in elementary school, I remember the feeling of seeing someone's binder of Magic cards and how all the illustrations were kind of weird and a little bit creepy and you didn't
Yeah.
like I remember that feeling so viscerally, but like I had no desire to actually play the game, or maybe I didn't have an opportunity, but like the art stuck with me. And the same thing with like Lord of the Rings growing up. Like I couldn't even get through Lord of the Rings the book
It's a
when I
tough
was
read.
when I was in high school.
It's a
Um
whole lot of walking.
a
Yeah.
lot of walking, yeah. Like
It's
I
a whole lot
enjoyed
of walking.
but the cover illustration on the edition that I had was great, and I
Yeah.
loved the movies, and like so, like on the surface level, I enjoyed it until I was an adult, and then reading it, and I got it. I
Right.
was like, oh, this is why this is so great.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, you gotta learn
you know,
about like the
so
fellowship and the camaraderie
yeah,
and
I'm
yeah, so
still okay with like preferring The Hobbit
dude,
for the
I just
novels.
listened to Lord of the Rings on by Andy Serkis on audiobook and I loved every minute of it. So
yeah, yeah. So I like surface level enjoy video games, surface level enjoy a lot of the fantasy properties, but I don't like it's not part of my life. My life is
sure.
really revolves around my family and producing art that I um, really enjoy and feel proud of. And that's just my main focus. However, I will say that Victor Adame Minguez has gotten me interested in watches, and
Okay.
Oh,
I bought my first adult watch the other day. Um,
What is it?
like it's
Are you
my
wearing it?
first
Oh.
adult watch. Yeah, I'm wearing it. Like
Oh,
it's
there it is.
just an Orient Bambino, but it's a mechanical watch that you have to wind. But like I thought that was pretty cool because I don't splurge on
Right.
clothing or anything like that, and this is my first time buying something nice for myself. That's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
like a video game system or something. Um, so I'm not sure it's going to become a hobby, but
I mean,
it's something that
I
recently
think if I buy a
I,
fancy watch, I would like to get a Panerai someday. Have you
what
looked
is
into
a
I
Panerai?
Panerai?
The old school one, the current watches they make are just expensive, fancy looking
Hmm.
watches. But old school Panerai watches were watches that deep sea divers used to wear. So they got like huge faces. I'm talking like I don't know, an inch and a half, 2 inches big. Because when they're wearing their
yeah.
suits, they had to be able to tell whatever
Read
the
it.
minute counter, right? So if you find an old one, they're like 3 or 4 grand just for the watch face. And then there's
Yeah.
people that'll put straps on like my friend is into Panerites. His Panerai watch is like some $5,000 rig on his arm, and I'm like, bro, don't walk around Chicago with me wearing a $5,000 watch. But it's got like this huge face, and we went and met up with this other dude who like put a new strap on it for him, and I just watched this guy like sit there and like sew this strap for this, and that strap cost like $1,000. It's like leather
Yeah.
Wow.
and Panerais are like if you can get like an antique Panerai, they're beautiful watches, but they're gonna cost you like 10 grand. I mean,
Yeah,
my the
I'm not
fanciest
there
watch.
yet. I'm not there yet.
This is the
Yeah, some of
fanciest
those
watch I own.
watches.
My
Ugh.
cousins gave it to me for when I was wearing my suits. It's a Skagen. It's
Oh,
dead
yeah,
right now.
I have a Skagen too. Yeah.
Yeah, this is like the thinnest watch I've ever seen. Because I don't wear watches when I wear my suits and stuff. 'Cause I hated that feeling of my watch consistently getting caught. So my
Mm.
cousins all gifted me a Skagen. This is a nice watch though. And then
Yeah,
where I
I have
work,
a Skagen, and this is my only my second watch. So
and then it shows my wife and my kids got me this fancy swatch, which is cool
nice.
because you can see
Oh, okay.
you can see all the what do they call it, the motion and stuff inside of it.
Oh, that's cool.
But I'm not used to wearing watches like this. I'm used to wearing an you know everyone has seen me walk around shows. My primary go to is this old ass Casio I've had since I was 14. You
Oh,
know,
yes.
like
Yep.
it's digital. I can see the time. I've had the face replaced. My family comes from a line of watchmakers. So I've had to fix this a couple times, but this thing's been through everything with me. It's gonna be a sad day when this watch doesn't want to work. So
Well, I mean, I'm going to India for the first time in 10 days,
oh, nice.
with my kids and my wife. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go to the closest Titan showroom and get myself a Titan watch while I'm there.
Yeah,
Um,
or a
and
citizen,
so
man.
yeah, so I'm looking forward to that,
What
and maybe at that have a
what's the part
collection.
of India are you guys going to?
We're going all over. We're going Delhi and then Jaipur, and then
Yeah,
we're going to Ranthambore to see the tigers, and then we're ending up in Mumbai,
Mumbai. Okay, my family's from Kerala, so I've
way
done
down south.
way down south. Yeah, we're South Indian. But I did the last time I was in India. I went there for a wedding first, so we were in Delhi. And then from Delhi, we rented a driver who took us to where's the Taj Mahal? Agra? What's it called?
Yeah,
Yeah, Agra. So
yeah.
it's like a 4 hour car ride, and you want someone reliable. Um, like the whole time, my friends and we had two vans. The whole time we're driving there, the whole time in my head, I was like, these guys can just fuck off right now, and we have no idea where we are. Like
Yeah.
we're like 16 people from Chicago who are just gonna get a bit like it's a rough ride to get there. Okay, I mean I don't know if you go to Taj Mahal, it's worth it, but also getting there is like its own adventure, and it's not like a fun adventure. It's a very rough ride. Like
Yeah.
I didn't want to even sleep in the van because I was scared I'd wake up and not know where I was.
Right.
Oh my God.
It's like everything around the Taj Mahal is it's India, man. So it's just it's very rural and very rough, and but once you're inside, it's very beautiful on the inside. Then we went from there to Chandigarh, which is way up north, and it was cold. I was not. My dad had said pack a sweater, pack a scarf, and I was like, it's India, man. How cold can it be? It's right near Kashmir, so it's really cold. Um, and I was gonna go
Yeah,
to
my
Kashmir, but apparently, if you're Catholic and you go to Kashmir, I was raised Catholic, so they're like, if
yeah.
you go to Kashmir, they're gonna kill you over
Oh, jeez.
Oh man.
there. So I did not see
Yeah,
Kashmir, guys.
oh my God. Yeah, no, my wife's family is from Mumbai originally.
Okay.
And my wife hasn't been back uh in a few years, but my parents-in-law are basically doing a different kind of trip than my wife used to. We're really kind of doing a tour rather than
Sure.
going to see family.
That's the best way to
Especially
do it.
since yeah, especially since like my kids and my nephews are all going in one big group. They really wanted to produce get like a tour where no one was really roughing it at any point.
Right.
Yeah,
So
that's what I told my wife. Like she was on shoot, like so, like because like last time I was in Mumbai, I think it was when they used to call it Bombay, essentially,
yeah,
right?
right,
Um,
right.
and it was rough at the airport. Like I had all these issues at the airport, but like even in Delhi, last time I was in Delhi's airport, but now the airports are nice. Delhi's international airport, they built essentially there was you had to go out to get in, and all these people were waiting there to help you with your bags. But now they built a wall around all that, and so now you don't have to deal with
Mm.
you don't have to deal with any of the riffraff outside. Because I know that everybody wants to help you, and you're like, I don't need help. I'm good. Please leave me alone.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I told my wife when we go to Kerala, she's like, I want to go stay with my family there. I'm like, we make decent money. I'm gonna get us a hotel. Like, I like carpeting and air conditioning, and not having to
Yeah,
worry about giant spiders landing on my face.
right,
I'm not from India. I'm Indian, but I was raised in Chicago. I'm a city boy.
right.
You know,
That's like my wife's reaction for that because like her father, like his whole family's from Amritsar,
yeah,
and but then they like pretty much all of them emigrated over to the UK after the divide, or I forget what the actual term is called. When like the India got like split in two kind of
yeah.
deal.
I
So
forget what it
like
was.
yeah, they after when that happened, they're like, okay, we're just gonna go to the UK. So they all went there, and then her dad eventually emigrated over here as part of like tech work because he was like right on the ground floor as the internet was becoming a thing very,
Yeah,
very early on, like before it's like consumer facing. So he got over here as a result of that. But yeah, like she's never gone. I think her brother has, and I know like my father-in-law has gone back a couple times, but even he's kind of like, eh. He's like, I don't have a strong inclination to go back. He's like, I've seen it. I've been there.
Yeah, I mean, my parents want to go back all the time, but they're from there. I'm
Mhm.
Right.
you got my brain trying to figure out what they call that split. I want to say it's just called a partition, but I think
That's
it's
what it
different,
is.
right?
Yes.
My brain was literally like, "You're Indian. You should know this. Figure it out."
Yeah.
But yeah, like my parents want to go back all the time. I've had like a half like I want to do what you're doing, Ryan, which is if I go back, I want like so last time I was there with that wedding, I like when I went to South India, I told my family, I was only there for 4 days in Kerala before I went to um Dubai and Sharjah and stuff. So I told my
Yeah.
family in Kerala, I was like, you guys have one day to hang out. Like one day, I'll come visit all you guys because the next 3 days I'm gonna spend on myself doing whatever I want. And
Yeah.
I did this crazy legacy tour with my dad's brother, Father Bosco. We just went house to house. And you know how it is when you go to those homes, they're like, here's food, here's coffee, you gotta do all that. And you're like, no, I'm good, we're good, I'm good, I'm good.
Right.
And they were very upset with me, but at the same time I was like, I probably won't see any of you guys for another 10 to 20 years. Like,
Yeah.
peace out, homie. Like, so anyone who wanted to come hang out with me after that would come to the main house where I was staying, because I was just like, I'm on this like 3 week trip, man. I was all over the
Yeah.
place. So that was the first time I traveled by myself too, to like out of the country. So
Hmm.
that was I remember when I left Chandigarh, I was there for a wedding, right? My flight was leaving the next day to go to Kerala, but I had to go through like Cochin and then Chennai. And when I went to the airport, the guy at the airport was like, "Your flight left an hour ago." Now I'm also
Oh God.
severely hungover from this wedding, right? So I'm just like, what? And I don't speak. I think they speak Gujarati up there, and I don't speak it. So look at my
Right.
friend, like translate what he just said, and my friend's like, he said your flight left an hour ago. I'm like, how's that even possible? Like nobody called me, and apparently they tried calling my parents here in the states
Oh,
on my cell phone.
Oh.
So
yeah.
luckily, I got on this flight with Air India, which is the airline I was trying to avoid at all costs. But she put me on a flight. I got to Delhi. I had roughly 30 minutes to go through the gate, go back through security, and run to like gate 43 or something. And I was at gate 2. I made it. Again,
Jeez.
severely hungover. All right.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I got on that plane. I remember talking to the air host. What do they call it? What are they like? Air hostess, stewardess. And I was like, do I have to get off this plane in Chennai or do I just sleep because I'm tired? And she was just like, no, just stay on the plane. It's fine. It connects to the next one. I woke up to this same woman shaking me awake, saying we're supposed to go on another plane. Like everybody was off the plane, and the crew was on a bus, and they got me off the plane, and I went to another plane, and I got to Kerala eventually. Got to Cochin, and my family was waiting for me, and all my friends were like, you could have been on the Amazing Race. I'm like, no, bro. I remember at one point I looked at my credit. I had a emergency Discover card on me, right? At one point I was like, I can just buy a ticket home right now. Just be like,
Yeah.
fuck the rest of this trip. I can't do this. I just want to
Yeah.
go home, But Dubai is nice if you ever get a chance to go there. Yeah, there's lots of laws there though. So
Yeah, we're going through Abu Dhabi and it's just a layover. So,
Abu Dhabi is beautiful. That airport is insane.
well, we'll see the airport.
Dude, there's like a giant mall inside of that airport.
Yeah.
You're gonna spend
I
some
think my
money there.
Is that the one that has the giant like it's an art piece where it's basically a giant bowl of water and it's
I
continuously
don't.
always like spilling water out into a pool below and then it just gets recirculated back up.
That I don't
I
recall.
can't remember if that's there or if that's in Seoul.
I just remember
One or the
walking
other.
from there to my next gate and thinking of the first on my way there, thinking there's a literally a mall built inside of it. You're just seeing like a Hudson's newspaper shop or something.
Hmm.
This is like a
Right.
legit like mall. You could spend hours in that airport and probably not buy everything.
Yeah. Ryan, you said like you didn't have a whole lot of like hobbies for the most part, but like do you have like an interest in filmmaking because your videos have like pretty good like really good production values. Um like even like the fact that you have like multiple camera shots when you're doing like your painting time lapses and stuff and like I've got bit of the setup here or whatever. But like man, just trying to set up for that kind of stuff where it's like, okay, now I got to stop and reset my camera and do this, and it's like it takes me out of it. So I was wondering, like, like, is that like a side passion for you, where where you enjoy doing that aspect of it? Like, do you have multiple cameras for that kind of thing, so you're not like having to mentally reset to be like, okay, now I have to do like this shot or this pickup shot or something or anything like that within it?
Yeah, I was it's not I will say that it's not really a passion. I haven't done videos in many years and I know people like it because, I keep getting messages saying, "When are you going to do a video of this one?" And the answer is always no, unfortunately. I did those videos at a period in my career where I wasn't getting really great cards and I also wasn't um, selling them really all that much because the market hadn't picked up. And I was just trying to figure out ways that I could share the process and get a little more eyes on my pieces. So that was just an idea that I had to kind of like do videos to show people what the process is and hopefully kind of maybe it'll snowball into something else. Um, I appreciate that you like them. I was really working with just one camera, just a DSLR, and kind of operating between the movie mode and I had a what is that thing called? An intervalometer or something where that you set it and it like takes a picture every couple
Yeah,
of
yeah.
seconds.
So you could basically kind of stitch it together and have it be like
Right.
a time lapse. Yep.
And then I switched off of that to doing like movie mode where I had the camera over my shoulder and like when I was working on something that I thought might be interesting or would illustrate something, I just turn on the movie for movie mode for a bit and like do some painting. Um, but that just takes an incredibly long time.
Yeah,
Um,
that's why I was kind of curious because it's like,
yeah,
I mean, like within the videos, it's really great work, and then on top of that, you're mixing it up so it's not just like a locked on camera the whole time in one spot for the whole thing.
yeah, I don't know
So,
exactly how I
but
have the time to do that.
yeah, like yeah, I know at least from my experience, like it does add so much onto it just to even if it is just as simple as like, oh, I have it locked off and I'm just recording the time lapsing thing. It's still remembering like, okay, I have to hit record. Oh wait, I need to step away for a moment or something or whatever, like anything. And yeah, even stuff like that can add like a few hours onto a painting if you're not careful.
And then compiling them all in iMovie or whatever you're using, like it just takes a
CapCut,
long
man.
time. And so, like, my idea was that like eventually I might get some I don't know income from the views or whatever. That never happened, obviously. But my Gumroad usually makes about a Magic Cards commission rate every year.
Oh, nice.
So that's not bad.
That's not
That's
bad at
like an
all.
extra commission every year.
Yeah.
So I'll keep that going. But yeah, I don't entirely know how I had the time to make those actually. It's just like I look back and you know what it was? It was because of the increase in magic sets a year when they went to like full on we're going to produce as many sets as we can.
Mm.
The deadline got like a week shorter. It
Yeah.
almost seemed like. And so just that week, there goes that video
Yeah, ate
time.
it up.
Like,
Yeah.
that's it. I think that's when the switch actually happened, is about like 2019 when things started to pick up and then,
That
that
yeah, that would
flew out the
track
window.
because I think like your last video is like 5 or 6 years ago, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do like I would love to show people how I work and I don't want to like be an artist who like I'm going to keep my process secret because it's not really like a secret process. Like I'll show anybody, but
Mhm.
can't I don't have the time to actually show you. Like
Right.
they'd have to send a camera crew to me to watch me work because I
Better
can't
watch out, man. You end up with a crew over there.
Yeah.
I did like a few like 2018 the guy when they were still doing documentaries for Wizards came and
Oh,
did a
was it Seth?
documentary.
Oh, no
What?
way.
Was it Seth
Yeah.
Kowalski? Yeah, yeah.
Oh no not Seth actually. It was the Enter the
Right.
Battlefield guys. I
Oh,
forget who Nate. No.
yeah. I know who you're talking about. I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
But
And that was an interesting experience, and that was they didn't get to film my process or anything, but yeah, it's yeah, it just takes a long time to show people how you work, and you know, some
I was
things are
gonna,
just too boring to see.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I had a question for you about reference, like how often you're using reference for your stuff, because it seems like you
Yeah.
use yourself a lot. You know,
Yeah, I don't,
um,
I used to,
yeah,
but since about since about 2016, and I'm not sure if I ever told anybody this. Um, since 2016, I made kind of a challenge to myself that unless the art directors asked me specifically to paint a white person, that I wasn't going to paint a white person. Like if I
nice,
had a default, I was going to choose somebody that wasn't white. And so I use myself as a model far less since 2016 than I used to. So like I will step in occasionally,
sure.
but I'm getting older. I'm not don't really strike a heroic pose.
That's not you
But
as
I will.
Captain America.
It really that was what kind of like I don't want to show that picture. I think a lot of the work had to do with this doll over my shoulder here
Yeah, I saw that.
that I bought. I think he was doing most of the work, but yeah. So I'll hire models when appropriate.
Sure.
So especially if I get like a black person or a person of Asian descent, like I will absolutely hire a model for that because I don't want to be guessing on
Right.
facial features. I want to get things exactly right. So
Yeah, yeah.
I'll hire models. I will make maquettes out of clay, pretty detailed maquettes. Um, I've recently started working with Daz Studio to do like
That's
3D
what
models.
Yep.
that's what Andrew has
Um,
been helping me with. A
yeah,
lot
so
of
I'm,
the
I'm
character pieces I'm doing is through Daz.
Yeah, so I'm using like every trick that I can find to
Yeah.
get the best reference that I can. Nothing is really off the table except for AI.
Right.
Um, but yeah, if I need to hire a model, I'll hire a model. It's a business expense. If whatever I need to do to get as close to the final piece as I can on the reference, I'll do it.
Yeah, I do a lot of kit bashing as well.
Yep.
I've Some of my older stuff is wacky. Like I've got a spaceship I made out of hard drives and solo cups, and you
Yep.
can't tell in the final product, right? I just needed to figure out the perspective and shapes because everything
Yeah.
I do is I see in shapes. But like, um, since I can't really afford to hire a model all the time, I heard about how people are using Daz, so I looked into Daz, and then Andrew's been able to help me do like turnarounds and stuff. And
Yeah.
in Scott's class, he won't let me. He's always like, you can't rely on the model. You can't rely on 3D. So because
Right.
he's like, you have to sketch this. He makes me sketch it over a bazillion times so I get it right. And then once it's right, he's like, now
Yeah.
you put your shapes on top. And
Yeah.
initially I would fight him on that, but now I can see the value in that as things are getting better. But sometimes like I don't own a spacesuit, so I got to go look that up on Google somewhere. Things like that are
Yeah, I mean, I consider the expense of a model. I mean, they're not that bad. It's like, or for me, for my process, it's not that bad. Like, it's
right.
probably $100 for an hour's worth of work. But like that's a business expense. It's gonna make my piece $100 better for sure.
Sure.
Um, uh, uh, it's gonna make it $100 better painting, absolutely. And I'm just gonna feel more proud of it if it's something that
Yeah.
like if I hire a model, I'm going to be happier with the results, and that's worth it for me as well. Not
That
just
makes sense.
financially, but just from a um,
Yeah.
personal point.
No, that makes sense. It's actually a good thing. Um, I don't do enough characters to lean on that yet.
Yeah,
But I do have a friend who uses a lot of, like you point out that Captain America reminds me, he uses a lot of hot toys.
yeah,
It's always a business expense, and then he can always just turn around and sell that hot toy later and or keep it.
I was gonna say that's what he said he would do is like he would use it for whatever project he had and then would
Sometimes he
sell it
keeps
to
them,
make
sometimes
room
he
or
sells
stuff,
it
or
off.
he
Yeah,
or would hold on to it. Yeah.
because he still collects them too, right? So
Yeah, those hot toys are really useful.
They're like detailed as
Honestly, a
fuck.
lot of like, so like the one thing like going back to like what Scott Fisher told you about like 3D models is like, yeah, the trap of like 3D models, if you don't have a strong grasp on anatomy,
Correct.
is like, yeah, you end up with like you someone that's like more amateur or whatever would end up copying like the weird bends that 3D models will get,
Right.
where it's like almost like a Stretch Armstrong that's been folded
Yeah.
over. It creates that weird crease or whatever. You don't really get that with like modern action figures now. Like modern action figures are so good, and the articulation like has skyrocketed like crazy since, weirdly enough, as a toy factoid, is because of Lord of the Rings that a lot of modern day action figures kind of move the way they move and the level of sculpts that they have. Because Toy Biz at the time pretty much upped the game and elevated entirely. Like all the stuff they brought in for the Lord of the Rings series on that, Hasbro ended up copying, and a bunch of other studios ended up copying and like carrying through on it. And yeah,
Interesting.
no, it's yeah, the level of articulation on these things now is like crazy.
Yeah, I've seen the ones that had like the real skin and all that stuff. I don't own any of those, but you know.
Those I was always interested in, but at the same time, like I used to have some older like Jurassic Park toys back from when I was a kid. Like my parents held on to them or whatever. And when it came time for me to be like, oh, like let me take my crap out of their garage or whatever, it was made of like some of the larger ones are made of like that softer vinyl rubber or whatever.
Yep. It stinks.
It stinks, and then also like in heat and humidity.
It gets moldy. Yeah.
Not no, in my case, it didn't get moldy. What happened was it some of them dry rotted,
Ugh.
and then some of them like I guess lost moisture because they shrank. And then what happened was like they shrank and then they ended up pulling away from like the harder plastic like ABS parts. Yeah, weird.
I mean, I
But it
had
was like
the.
kind of
You remember the
that thing I had to
TMNT
like toss it.
ones? The
Sorry?
real feel turtles from the movies. They had like the
Oh
rubber
yeah.
skin.
But
Mine got moldy. I was like, that's going in the trash.
yeah, so yeah, that fake, that real skin thing that some of the action figures have, like that's
I
interesting. But
thought
at
it
the
was
same time, I'm
cool.
like, how's that gonna look in like a few years? Because I imagine that's not gonna be great for
It's
certain
gonna look like
collectors.
hot garbage. Um, Ryan, I had another question for you about your pics. Whenever you post a
Yeah.
painting, you post you kind of fancy it up with yourself on the side.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah, I
something
mean
you
that
decided to do one day for fun.
well, no. Again,
I noticed a
like I
lot of
don't do
other
any
artists started doing that now too, and
right.
that's
Yeah.
why I was just like,
So my the when I sell my work, when I sell the physical originals, um, Mike Linneman, who sells most of my work,
yep, I know Mike.
prefers he works with a bunch of artists, but he always prefers that we um, send in a candid photograph so that with the art, so that people see the exact physical size in comparison to something on the screen, and also the collectors get a little bit of insight into your space and where the painting comes from and its provenance and all that stuff. Um, that we've been doing for a while, and then just like I don't know, again, 2019, I did something like a little funny with my work. Like I had like a duck on my shoulder, or I posed something, and I don't know. The pandemic just kind of like kicked that into overdrive, where I had the time and I was going nuts, and did another funny one, and people liked it, and then so I did a funnier one, and people liked that,
Yeah,
and it just kept snowballing to the point where now people expect a funny picture when a new piece is released, they expect the funny picture to go along with the auction. And my goal with those is one, um, to generate more eyeballs on the auctions,
yep.
um, but two, just to kind of make fun of myself, and also it's a difficult balance. I'm not making fun of the piece of art. Like
Correct.
I'm making fun of I'm saying like we're painting fantasy stuff. Let's all lighten up. This isn't a museum.
Right.
This is supposed to be a fun thing. And, and I'm just a guy painting this stuff and like I'm just a guy doing his thing and let's all have a little bit of fun with it. Um of course now like I know the expectation is there
Right.
and so I don't often come up with an idea ahead of time. Sometimes I'm just like the piece has been released, what do I do? Like and so like I try to come up with something that is like references the art and or maybe tells a story. But yeah, I've noticed a lot of people starting to get make funnier pictures, and I think
I, I've
it's
seen a
good. It
few here and
shows.
there. I don't know if I'd say they're funnier, but I've seen a few here and there where I'm just like, hey man, that's Ryan's thing,
Yeah,
But like, but I mean, if
yeah.
you
I
don't
don't
care, then
I don't
it's not a
own
big
I
deal.
don't own a concept, but I will say that my photographs are the best that I've seen.
See, there you go. Pretty soon, you're just gonna just stand there like a pizza delivery guy or something, and
Yeah, the
oh,
one rule I have is like I don't Photoshop uh anything into my photographs like and I think that's just it's funnier that way
right,
if
it
I like
puts
am a really trying if I Photoshop almost seems like I'm trying too hard
correct.
and I just want to look around see what I got and make a story out of it
Yeah,
um and
that
so
sounds
usually the desperation before I post an image to try to come up with a concept sometimes yields some pretty good results.
nice. Yeah, I mean, I enjoy the ones I've seen. I can't even remember the other artists I've seen, but I've seen a few artists where I'm just like, all right, good. So we're a little over time, so we're gonna do the. I was thinking we should jump to the last part of the show. Um, I mentioned it to you earlier. I wasn't sure if you had anything you want to show off or talk about, um, outside of magic, obviously.
Yeah.
Or the
Uh,
watch.
Or the
yeah,
I
I
guess
mean,
you did technically talk about something, which was the watch, which is cool.
yes, I mean that's basically yeah, I'm doing work, spending time with family and trying to develop a new hobby and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I feel like if you're in India, you should look for. I think there. I can't. I'm pretty sure the big watch is there. One of the companies was Citizen, and if you can find a
Yeah.
Citizen, like my grandfather was a watchmaker, so my family comes in the lineup. His father was a watchmaker, and then they had a watch repair shop. And when my dad's oldest brother had passed away, I asked for some of his watches because he had for sure a Panerai and a Citizen, and I think an old Timex. And my
Yeah.
janky cousins who don't watch this show, so I don't care that I'm bad mouthing them, sold all the fucking watches. And I was like,
Oh
why would you
no.
do that? Like those watches have
Yeah.
been in our family for years, because
Yeah.
some people are just stupid.
I mean,
Um,
the other thing I do collect is art books. Like
yeah,
I just like
it's
art
all
books.
art
Yeah,
books.
I think everybody does that, but
Yeah,
I'm just really a fan of the Golden Age illustrators more than anything else.
yeah,
Like I hardly look at modern annuals anymore. I
yeah.
really I only really look at like the Golden Age guys, Cornwell, Howard Pyle, that sort of stuff. Um, it's just because it's what I find most appealing and has more relevance to the way I work. Like I
Sure.
always admired how those guys, if they needed to paint a foot, they just paint the foot. Like
Mhm.
Right.
there's no underdrawing or anything like that. It's like if they needed to change it, they just like change it with a couple brush
Right.
strokes, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's really like that is also in desperate times my method of painting, where like
Is
change it.
is there a good modern Howard Pyle book? Because like I have a bunch of different books, like ones from like Bernie Fuchs. Oh God, some of the other names, Dean Corwell.
Yeah, I'm blanking on the names too.
Yeah, Mead. But like I think all of those are put out by Daniel Zimmer, I think.
Yeah, I love those books. Yeah.
Yeah. Did he ever do a Howard Pyle book, or has he not
I
tackled
don't
that yet?
I don't think so.
Oh
Yeah,
my
I don't think
God,
so.
if he ever does. I don't know. So speaking of art books, I don't know if you've seen it in person. I've only seen it once at like my local art store, and I don't know if they still have it. But have you seen that? It's like this big of an art book, the Taschen Frank Frazetta book.
No, I haven't actually.
So it is. First off, it is a eye-watering $200,
Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
but the book itself is about yay tall and about like yay wide. So if like you have it on a coffee table, it's
Yeah.
half a coffee table, and then if you open it up, it's
Yeah.
the full fucking coffee table.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like apparently it's like every piece of his work from what was it, Al Cap, all the way to all of his paintings and stuff, and like all the sketches, like they threw everything in it, and it's like
Yeah.
that thick and stuff too.
What?
It's one of those that I'm like, I would love that, but at the same time I'm like, I have no idea where I would put that. That it
Yeah.
wouldn't get like damaged or something like that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I credit the Frank Frazetta. My dad had a collection of the three Ballantine smaller editions from like the 70s
Mm,
of
yeah.
the Frank Frazetta work, and I kind of credit that with my first experience with fantasy art, like that and Brian Froud's The Fairy book, and
Yeah.
just those things that like my dad had lying around that he picked up from wherever. That was a really big influence on me as growing up, and I think that love of just having a book full of art, it's
Mhm.
just like there's something magical about that.
Sure.
Yeah, totally. Alan, what do you got?
I was gonna talk about if you played a game called Roots. The guys put out a new game called Arcs, which
Oh,
is
all right.
I do a lot of tabletop. I do a lot of stuff in the tabletop board game industry. So I met these guys. Leader Games makes this. They're using the
That
same.
looks like there's airships on it. Is that right?
Yeah, it's in space. It's basically
Okay.
you're trying to take over space. It's this, the base idea it's got similar concepts to Root. Where, Root, you're trying to take over the forest essentially, and this one
Mhm.
you're trying to take over the galaxy. Basically, I'll just read the synopsis. It says Arcs is a sharp sci-fi strategy game for 2 to 4 players, set in a dark yet still universe. Ready yourself for dramatic twists and turns as you launch into this galactic struggle. Seize initiative, declare ambitions, and crush your foes. So you're trying to be like the top king in it. The idea is to take over sections, sectors, and stuff like that. The only thing I don't like about this is they keep making these games 4 players. And I'm like, bro, I have 5 to 6 friends who show up to play. So like this game can't be played when we do game, like we did a game night on Saturday and we ended up playing Gloomhaven, which is also a 4 play game, but we can rig it for 5. This game can't be played, but it's fun. And if you like Root, which is with the forest animals, try to take over a forest. The same company, same artist. I forgot his name, Chris something. Um, I met him at PAX U last year. He was across from me at Gen Con earlier this year. He's a super chill dude. He's got a very unique cartoony style that I really like. So um, I don't know if like all I'll say is if you like Root, Arcs is similar and it's really fun to play. So this is the newest board game I invested in. I actually got it for free. I didn't spend because in the art industry you can trade for art sometimes. So,
This is true. Oh, actually, well, speaking of, like, did my artwork come in for you this week?
nothing came in yet.
Oh, think it was supposed to come in today, at least according to USPS.
Oh really? I will
But
check outside.
yeah, yeah, give that a check later because I think it should be there today. At least according to the kiosk. The
Okay,
kiosk may have lied to
it's really windy outside of my house, so if you send an envelope, that bitch is gone. you know,
Oh God. Oh no.
so yeah, so unless they
Well,
put it in the
hopefully it's not.
mailbox, so I'll check the mailbox after this. Yeah, the only thing that came in for me today is I mean, on a quick side note, I can also talk about if anyone's into books. This book finally came out. It's called We Call Them Giants. It's a
Okay.
graphic novel by what's his name? Here, Kieran Gillen.
Oh,
That's
Kieran Gillen. Yeah.
yeah, and it's like the artwork in here is amazing. The story is awesome. It just finally came out hardcover. You can get it on Amazon for like, well, if you want to support Amazon. Unfortunately, it's the fastest place to get it. It's like $15. About $20 at your local, but my local was sold out. So there, I talked about two things. I
Yeah,
should
you
have
made
saved
up for
that.
my zero.
I don't know. You talked about watches, man. It's cool. The problem we always have is we forget to tell our guests about that part because we just automatically assume that our guests would go watch an episode and be like, "Oh, they do this thing at the end," and I was like, "Why would I assume that? Why did I assume that?" So, but this is the beauty of the show. I'm not stressed about it at all. So, Andrew, what do you got?
Well, you already know it because I talked about it with you like earlier this week. But I sat down and I saw the new Hellboy movie recently because
Oh,
it's on
I got that,
it's
by
on
the way.
streaming. It's like $6 or so
Yeah,
to
sure.
rent.
You
So it
can pay
wasn't.
$6 for it. I got it. I'll watch it later.
Yeah. Well, wait, I can't remember. Did you watch it or no? You haven't
I
yet.
started watching it and I never finished it because it's very, very rough.
You know what? Yeah. So
Ryan's like, I'm Hellboy in that movie.
take 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 it. Look,
Has
look,
nothing to do with it.
taking it all in stride. I actually do
I
prefer it
feel
over
like
the
it has
David
potential
Harbour
to
one.
be a yes. So like that's like I like indie flicks more than I like mainstream movies, right? Except for like if you're looking at Marvel, then please give me the mainstream Marvel movies. But like when you're looking at like when like for October, how I was watching all those horror movies, like we're talking about it with
Yeah.
Jacobson, like I watched a ton of indie horror movies versus the mainstream ones because I feel like if you can make a good story with a low budget and keep the audience captivated, you're winning. Like that wins me over immediately. This Hellboy movie, I watched about the first 15 or 20 minutes of it, and like you and I are talking about, it felt like I was like sitting there thinking, when's the Technicolor gonna kick in?
The first 15 minutes I think are like the hardest because yeah, you got to get used to like
You
so
gotta get somebody's attention in those 15 minutes, man.
this movie should not look the way it does. And
Yeah.
apparently, like I told you this, like Ryan, apparently the director was not allowed to color correct the movie for some reason. I'm not really sure why, but like it looks like when with for like professional film shoots, you film in something called a F-log, and F-log is basically like high dynamic range. Like it looks natively really, really washed out, but that's because it has like a huge value range within it. So then that makes it really easy to like color grade it, color grade and correct it later, and that way you can tweak it however you need it to be. This movie though looks like they didn't do any of that, or if they did, it's like a very minimal amount of it. So the whole thing looks really washed out for some reason, and it stays like that pretty much the entire movie. Sadly. um, and then the
Almost like they're
dialogue's
trying to
like a
hide
little
something.
clunky at the start, but honestly, it does ramp up to be pretty decent of the
Okay.
movie throughout it. So
I mean, I'll watch it. I'll give it a
if
whirl.
Hellboy's your thing, like it's a worth a
I
watch
like
just to see.
Hellboy. I think Hellboy's great. If you're gonna watch something Hellboy, you should go watch Drawing Monsters, the documentary on Mignola.
Yeah, that's one I do need to get around to
It's
watch too.
awesome. If you've got what is it on? Prime?
Yeah, I think you can rent it anywhere. Yeah,
Okay.
because it's on Apple and it's on
Yeah. If you get a
Amazon
chance
as
to watch
well.
that, Ryan, if you like Mike Mignola stuff, you'd enjoy
You
that.
said drawing monsters?
It's called Drawing Monsters. It's basically a documentary on how it's cool because like it talks about how Mignola used to be an inker. Like it talks about how he just wants to be an artist and he's not very good at it. And then he wants to be an inker. And then he wants to be an artist for comic books. So he gets a job as an inker. I think it's at DC. Then he gets a job as an artist. And he's in the interview, he's literally like, I suck at this. I am not
Yeah.
good at this. And
Which
which is
I
it's uncanny to
I
listen to this man
disagree, but
talk about how bad
okay.
he is. But then like
Yeah.
there's a did I shelve it? There's a comic book that he does. I think I shelved it already. But he does a Batman comic book, which is literally the precursor to what will become. Oh, here it is. Hang on.
Are you talking about the Gotham by Gaslight one or
No, it's called Sanctum. I had to find
Oh,
it on
really?
eBay. Yeah, so this whole comic book is it like the artwork inside of it. I'm not gonna open this. You can actually look it up yourself. But it has like um what's going to become the Hellboy style that you have now. The big torsos, the skinny legs. That's how Batman is drawn in here. The shadows that are cutting. You don't need a lot of like the shape. Mike Mignola's shape language is a huge influence on my style. Like so, the documentary is like really awesome to watch. But to sit there and listen to this man say, I am not a very good artist, and you just like, bro, look in a mirror and look a little harder next time. But you know, but if you watch the documentary, you kind of get this, you get this idea of why he thinks that way because he wasn't a great inker, he was a decent inker. He wasn't a great comic book artist, he was decent. It was a time when they just needed people to crank out. He's from like the golden age of comics, right? They just want to crank out, or silver age, I should say, but they want to just crank out comic books. So his first comic book, I think, was like Rocket Raccoon or something. It was like
Yeah.
unheard of. Like I was like, what? And then he gets this Batman comic book is part of a series, and this was his, and it immediately like brought him into the limelight. Everyone's like, oh, who's this guy? What's his style? And then that became, he worked with Dark Horse to make Hellboy. And once he put out the first couple of Hellboy books, all of a sudden he's working with Guillermo del Toro and making a movie.
Yeah.
And it also talks about how the second movie is kind of what ended that friendship a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, on that subject, it's kind of unfortunate that we have lost that, or for to a large extent, artists have lost that period where you can just be decent and also make a living.
Yep.
Um, that ability for modern artists is almost not there,
Correct.
which is super unfortunate. Because I think we're missing out on a lot of genius that could be if
Yeah, because like
only,
those comics aren't
Give them the
bad,
amount of
right?
time.
Like if you look
yeah,
at Mignola's old work, it's not bad. You know, um, like I'm gonna use Rob Liefeld as an example. Like I loved X Force when it first came out because it was so different than anything I'd been
yeah,
reading at that point. And Liefeld's not the greatest artist in the world, but he was different and he challenged some stuff. He doesn't know how to draw feet for some reason. I don't understand what happened there. He likes pouches, but it was like I just remember reading X Force thinking, this is like none of the X comics I'm reading right now. Humberto Ramos, when he first came out, he had like the giant hands and the giant feet, and then it just didn't fit. But he was like a
Mhm.
graffiti artist, so like then you could be like, oh, I kind of see those influences in this art now, and they don't do that anymore
yeah.
because people want like perfect for some reason. It's
Well,
not.
I was gonna say I think that also speaks to like larger entertainment industry motions.
Yes.
Like you just look at like TV shows in general, like something like Star Trek Next Generation would not survive modern streaming.
No.
Like that thing took 3 seasons to get decent to
I
where it's
ate
like most
those.
people,
I ate that show up. I love that show.
right,
But
but
you know me,
it,
I like
it, it
movies
did
like The
not turn the vote
Rocketeer.
around ratings wise until like part way through season 3, and it's like, oh no, it would have been canceled like after the first 10 episodes
Yeah.
with on Netflix or something.
Well, Netflix cancels everything.
So, but no, yeah, that is a good point. It's like, yeah, it's way it's like nigh impossible to just be okay and get in and then grow as an artist in like any field these days. It seems you have to be like your A game when you first come out of the gate.
Which is so much pressure on an artist. That's the
Yeah.
other reason I tell a lot of artists, I'm like, do your own. Like, I meet a lot of artists who are like amazing at what they do, but they want to work for like Marvel or DC or Magic or whatever. And I'm just like, why not just do your own thing? And then if those
Yeah.
companies hire you, do a job for them if you want, but do your own thing. Like, your art's great, and I understand it's
Magic is
not that
not
easy.
really, yeah, Magic is not really the place where your best is going to shine because you're
Right.
never going to be asked to do what you're good at. Or in my case, you're rarely going to be asked to do what you're absolutely good at or best at. And oftentimes you just get like a assortment of stuff that needs to be painted relatively well or as well as you can, and oftentimes it doesn't line up with what you want to or are good at painting.
I mean, that applies, I think, to most of these. Like, I've done enough board game gigs here where I don't get to go 100% on some of the stuff, and I'm just like, and every time I take a board game, I'm in the back of my head, I just hear we have a friend Brian Colin who's always like, focus on your IP, focus on your IP, and you're like,
Yeah.
I know, but this job seemed too good to turn down. But he's right,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, I'm always like, I should have focused on the IP. Now, that being said, Magic was one of the few jobs I've done where I felt great from the jump all the way to the end. So there was no like,
Sometimes it happens.
yeah,
Yeah,
sometimes it
sometimes that.
happens. So
Yeah,
far, I haven't had
but
any
like,
bad feelings.
yeah, but like long-term career, yeah, you're not gonna get what you're good at all the time.
Right.
And the longer you do it, the more pieces you're gonna get that aren't really a good fit for you.
Sure.
And yet I need to stand behind every piece because I'm going to sell it, and I respect my collectors, so I'm
Right.
not gonna like just phone in a piece.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do the best I can with what I'm given, but oftentimes you're not given stuff you can easily work with.
Sure.
That's kind of like it's kind of like concept design, where it's like everyone wants to go into concept design because they want to be like a character artist or something, or like a monster artist, and they're like, oh, I want to design like the next like Smaug, or I want to design like the next Conan the Barbarian. It's like, no, most concept design work is like designing boxes and rocks. Hate to tell you. That's the large part of like concept design work. Is like, okay, what does that wall look like? We kind of need a design of like what that wallpaper looks like. What does that box look like? Can you design it for us?
That sounds
So
horrible. All right. Well,
yeah, sorry.
now really over time. So let's talk about Ryan, where can people find more information about you and your art and stuff like that?
Well, you can go to my website, ryanpancoast.com, which doesn't have a whole lot of up-to-date stuff, but it has my store and it has a selection of my work. But you can keep up to date with me on my Instagram at rpancoast_art and rpancoast on Blue Sky. And yeah, I post when I can, and I answer email when I can, but really I don't do a whole lot of that because I have kids to take care of, and I'm
Yeah.
not really good at posting all the time. So if you follow me, you get what you get.
That's the best way to look at it. Andrew, where can they
Yeah.
find your information?
asidesart.com. Just leave it simple as that. There's also the patreon.com/asidesart.
Yep. And I'm AllenPanakal Art on all socials except TikTok because someone's still squatting on my name. And I probably
You'll
won't be on.
squat for
I don't know
until the
who the
heat
fuck
death
it
of
is
the
still,
universe.
man. Someday I'll figure out who it is and they'll give up the name. But also I'm probably not gonna be on Twitter much longer because fuck Twitter. But yeah. So that's it, Ryan. Thank you for being on the show. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you so much.
Thanks
If
for asking me.
you ever think of if you ever want to get back on here and talk about some cool watches, let us know. We can go follow up.
I'll just get Victor on here because I don't know much about watches. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Maybe in a year.
You might come back from India with like, dude, if you see a Panerai in it, you better get one for me.
Yeah. Okay.
I feel like if you're in Delhi, actually, real quick before I end the show, if you're in Delhi, there's a place called Chandachok, which is I think translates to thieves market or something. My friend was saying.
Okay. Yeah.
We went there and they have all sorts of like trinkets and I don't want to say stuff stolen, but watch, like I had my passport and my wallet inside my jacket. My watch definitely got stolen, but we found all sorts of like cool stuff in that. It's like a giant market area there. So I was there because my parents got married in the church across the street. But yeah, I think it's called Chandachok. I think it's, if I remember correctly, it is in Delhi though. So
I'll see if we can get there.
yeah, if you get robbed, it's not my fault.
Oh
All right,
gosh.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna end this show. Hang on one second. Oh, I'm sorry. Thanks for everyone watched. Please subscribe to all our socials.